of Orange City, please join us in our opening ceremonies. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And join me for a moment of silent prayer. Amen. Okay, agenda item number 3 is approval of tonight's agenda. I don't think there's any changes or additions, so there's a motion for approval.
Support.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 4 is the time that we provided every city council meeting for citizen comments. We like to keep it to the residents of Orange City, and we welcome comments and concerns from everyone. Just a reminder that we do not allow any disparaging or negative comments about our staff. So if anybody has anything they'd like to share that's not on the agenda, you may come to the up front and just state your name and your address if you would.
Okay. My name is Allison Camp. I'm at 116 Colorado Avenue, Northwest. Okay. Hi again, City Council. Don't worry, I'm not going to say the C word tonight. Instead, I would like to speak to you about a much more concerning underlying issue. Time and time again, I've either read in the minutes, heard from other residents, and now witnessed in this council use the phrase, "This is how it's always been done, so that's how we'll continue to do it, and let's stay the course." These comments are offensive, unquestionably a dismissal, an excuse, a fallback to brush a problem under the rug. I was taken aback last meeting when a request was made by a community member just to be heard, and these phrases were thrown about without contemplation, consideration, or conversation, and the request was dismissed. Hopefully gone forever, right? The most shocking part of this was in the next moment, when, in the next breath, a request to join a new waterway system was celebrated between the council members. This is a pattern, as I pointed out before, of disregard, dismissal, and avoidance of hard topics. I know that being in the public eye is not easy, and making decisions for a group of people that do not agree is difficult. I too work with people in the community, from the whole community of Sioux County, in fact, and sometimes I have to make unpopular decisions. However, I make a point to ensure that all parties are heard, are all involved, and have an opportunity to express their opinion through open conversation so that they know I have carefully considered their perspective and the impact my decision has on their lives. I see good work in this council. For example, I think the proposed Tulip Garden update is beautiful, and it's going to make a great addition to our downtown. I'm also very thankful to the road crews for finishing up the road by my house. It's a great road, and I'm glad to have it back. There are so many instances where if we stayed the course, because that's how we've always done it, then this community would be far worse off. We may even still be speaking Dutch today. I would like to issue a challenge to this council. Councils are meant to be a place for deliberation, consideration, conversation, and decision-making. When a citizen comes forward with a request, any request, frankly, I challenge each one of you to set aside any personal opinions, implicit biases, or previous decisions and truly consider what the residents of Orange City are asking of you and what this impact this request has on the entire community. Have a conversation or ask questions instead of just dismissing it because this is the way it's always been done. It should not be the expectation of every resident of Orange City to come in here knowing that requests, comments, and statements will be so blatantly disregarded and futile. We all want to make Orange City a wonderful place to live. I want us to continue to grow in this community together. I want us to have the hard conversations, to see others' perspectives. I'm not asking you for a degree with everything that I agree with. Instead, I'm asking you to step off the course, to have an open mind when something is hard, new, or different comes along, and not outright dismiss it, because honestly, that's the way this council has always done it. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. Anyone else? Then I am going to invite Dan Roger up for a moment. He would like to
I probably won't
share.
take 3 minutes, but I come
He is our
tonight.
chief of fire chief.
Fire chief.
Yeah.
I come to you tonight because in regards to Denny Vanderwell, Denny Vanderwell almost had a stellar record of 50 years of attending our annual banquet. After 49 years, he decided not to attend this year because he was sick. But yeah. So anyway, with that, I would like to present Denny his 50-year award, 50 years of service, which I signed and the other officers signed from the fire department. And so Denny, if you'd come up here, I'd like to present in front of everyone your 50 years of service.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan. You're not done yet. So as part of that, you've been our rock for a long time. You were fire chief for 23 years. And so we try to engrave on this as a replica, but what we're doing on behalf of the city is we are at the Iowa Firefighters Fallen Memorial is engraving a paver for you from the Orange City Fire Department and Orange City for your 23 years of service as chief, as well as the 50 years of service to the fire service.
Thank you.
All right, you're not done yet. So for your 23 years of service as fire chief.
Yeah, you should have brought your car along.
So we have
on your neck.
a commemorative fire helmet because of you being chief for 23 years from the Orange City Fire Department. So
Thank you very much.
We're doing
You're good.
All right. Time for me to ask for the new engine to come and switch.
Appreciate your service, Danny, and you were, too bad you missed the little well-spoken,
Well, I would have loved to have been there, but you wouldn't have wanted me there.
that I
Having a
understand.
bug around, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Very good. Thank you. Thanks to all of you that came for that. That's very nice and well-deserved. Where is that, where the brick, is that?
Coralville, Iowa.
Coralville, okay.
And that's where also Stan Dubin's name was
Okay.
engraved on there, so
Yeah.
we got him as part of that as well.
Gotcha, good, thank you. Okay, agenda item 5 is exhibit 1 in your packet, and it's approval of minutes from November 4, 2024. If you had a chance to look those over, any comments or questions, or I'll take a motion for approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 6, each year we ask affiliate organizations of the city to present and renew their request for funds. And this year we're happy to have the representatives from the Dutch Heritage Boosters, and Randy Van Person is here along with Bill Minnick. And you're going to use that, aren't you?
Correct.
Yeah, we'll get you hooked up there.
Oh, well, it's not coming on there. I don't know what we have to do to put it up there.
It's working on it.
Oh.
Football. Netflix, I got the football. Can you see?
It should automatically.
Thanks, Randy.
Yep. There you go.
Oh.
Thank you. Is that your screen?
There it is. There we go. Okay. Well, as the mayor said, my name is Bill Minnick, and I am the president of the Dutch Heritage Boosters, and we are thankful to be here in front of you again after a very successful year with the boosters. Now, many of you probably have heard much of this information from last year, but the Heritage Boosters have been around since 1986, when some very faithful members of Orange City created the organization. The organization was created to promote and encourage Dutch heritage throughout Orange City, to maintain the Century Home, to create opportunities to develop any kind of cultural events for the area that would represent what might have happened in the Netherlands and bring it here to Orange City. Some of the things that the Dutch Heritage Boosters work on are, oh, go ahead, I apologize, I'll just keep going. Some of the things that we are responsible for are the Little White Store, and that's how we raise our funds that we use to work with throughout a year. We will make enough money, hopefully, during the summer and during Tulip Festival to maintain what we need to do. The Century Home is one of our other projects that we work on, and it is constantly requiring input of funds. It's 124 years old, so we are always needing to put money into it. Sinterklaasdag, that is first Saturday of every December, where we celebrate the beloved tradition of bringing Sinterklaas to Orange City, and it's been done for many, many years. And the Dutch Heritage Walk and the Parade of Flags. So, wrong way. There we go. The Century Home. Some of the things we did to the Century Home this past year was we have been working on outside restoration of the eaves. If you drive past it, you'll see some scaffolding up there. We've been working on 125th anniversary party for this next summer. We're hoping to do something around possibly Tulip Festival, but it might be later in the summer. Interior restoration work is being done. The back stairwell that the servants would have used, we're having that replastered, and a few other different things. Maintenance on windows. The windows are original, so they're needing work. We had an original tree. It was an oak tree that several years ago during a thunderstorm fell, and it just missed the house. But we were lucky enough to have it hauled away, and we're getting several slabs of that wood, and we're making a bench to put at the house outside. And then we have additional landscaping that we have been working on. Little White Store, we've done some exterior work, signage. If you'll walk past, you'll see a new hanging sign that has puffer cheese on it, Little White Store. And then you will see a copper plaque that is on the south side of the Little White Store. That is more of signage with explanation and gives information about the Little White Store. Little White Store is the oldest building on Central Avenue. We've also replaced the awning. So in the summer, if you see when we roll out the awning, it's a brand new awning, and it's colorful and is just a beautiful, beautiful awning for the Orange City boosters or the Dutch Heritage Boosters to show off the building. So,
December 7th this year, we have Sinterklaas Day, and this year we actually added a new sound system that was installed. So at 9 o'clock, we'll be testing that. We hope we know what the fire extinguishers are in case I do something wrong. We're also training new puppeteers this year because the ones that we always get college students to help with that, and they graduate eventually, and they're not from around here, so we are trying to train some new ones for that. The Parade of Flags and Dutch Heritage Walk, we have ongoing maintenance with, as you can see, the carts. Some wheels just get old over the time used, so we're always updating those and hope to get redo the Groentebar, the vegetable. We're getting a new trike for that and a new tricycle. So. And the new flowers and carts, it's amazing how expensive fake flowers can be sometimes. For 2024, we also, as you know, introduced the new Rijnmannestad Dutch Heritage Booster tulip in the community. We hope to have a big christening at a week before Tulip Festival. We're hoping they're in full bloom. We've planted thousands of them. We hope at least a couple are up. And then we'll have a big christening. We're going to have, that'll be highlighted later, and those details are still being worked out, but it'll be the week before Tulip Festival. And then we also, for this year, we wrote and published a children's book about the Century Home and the Orange City lore. It's called Klaus and the Century Home. We're hoping to have a copy tonight, but it didn't get here in time. But it should be ready to order by December 1. It's about a mouse who visits his opa who lives in the Century Home, and he gets into a little mischievous mouse. It was made, authored by Ann Minnick, Kim Starkenberg, and Janny Van Dyke, and the illustrator is, I don't remember the name.
He's a student at Unity.
Okay.
And we also helped sponsor the Dutch organist that was here earlier this fall. He comes every 3-4 years. So, with that, we'd like to thank you for your past support and hope we can continue.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Any questions that we can answer for you while you have our attention?
Yep, and we did pass out a budget. So
Yeah, I just had gotten a copy of their financials. Should be available. So when Bill was mentioning puffer cheese sales, looks like about $25,000 worth of puffer cheese. So,
They're popular.
And in the summer too, you sell a lot in the summer when you have it on Wednesday
That's
night?
the only time we sell them.
Oh,
Well, no, Tulip Festival.
I mean Tulip Festival,
Tulip
but
Festival.
besides Tulip Festival,
Yes.
like on the Wednesday
We do
night.
6 Wednesday nights about,
Six, okay.
about every other Wednesday.
Okay,
When it gets
Yeah.
too hot, we notice it really drops.
Yeah.
oh,
So August, also college starts, high school, then start
Yeah.
getting up, so we don't do too much in August, but about every other week,
Good.
6 weeks.
good, yeah. Well, just appreciate everything you do to continue to promote our
Well,
Dutch
thank you.
heritage and we have a lot to celebrate, so we're thankful
It is.
for your
We
group.
are forever thankful to those who started it. The faithful are now our parents are. We're losing them, and so we're very grateful for what they did and how they got the ball rolling.
Yeah, and I even like looking at the board members to see some younger names on there.
Yeah,
is
and we're continually
very good.
looking for board members. So
Good,
if you know of anybody,
yeah. So,
well, thank you.
thank
very
you so
much.
much. Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, you were just fine.
Thanks again. Okay, agenda item 7 is, we have some department reports from our employees, and we'll start with Parks and Rec, and that's Noah Minnick, who was in some of the pictures as
Hey,
a
I
cute little
apologize.
Dutch boy.
We did not plan that to get a double dose of Minnick men tonight, but I got a PowerPoint as well. So. All right, awesome. Well, I want to thank you for allowing me to be here tonight and kind of present what we've been doing in the Parks and Rec Department over the past year. So we'll kind of get started. Park Supervisor, obviously, Brian Goslinga retired July 5. Fantastic employee for the city, hard worker, and really showed a lot of of his younger employees and Jaron and myself, how to work and how to take pride in your work. So he's been greatly missed, but he seems to be enjoying retirement because he's already remodeled all of his house and now he's moving on to his son's house. So he's staying busy. That position is still open. We've been kind of floating around ideas with maybe different organization of it, but we kind of gave it a break, and now we're going to start rerunning ads to hopefully hire in the springtime. Levi Mazdum helped into the fall as a part-time staff, so he kind of helped fill that third person role. while we were while our summer staff had left. So he was a great help and really helped us a lot. Assistant Parks and Rec Director is still Jaron. Jaron does a fantastic job. This year he took on the pool full time, and he did an awesome job. Does well with the kids, with our rec events. Works great in the parks with the park staff. So we're really thankful to have him in that position. We had 4 part-time mowing staff this year of retired gentlemen that helped mow. 10 part-time staff within the parks department, which was primarily high school kids. 22 recreation summer staff coaches, and those were high school kids as well. We had over probably 100 volunteer coaches, parent coaches help with the evening games. And we had 34 lifeguards between Orange City and Alton, so we were thankful to have that number. And we didn't have to worry about staffing. So,
How many properties do we have that we have to mow?
all of the city parks, along with,
Because
there's
still the
quite
JC?
JC Park, yep. We added the old elementary school property.
Okay.
We added that property. There's the property by Tony's old finance building.
We still have a lot.
Lot there.
Yeah.
Any property that the city owns, the
They
park
have to
department mows, in
Including
addition to
the cemetery.
cemetery,
Correct.
the parks,
That's
and
right.
any of the other.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we've been thankful to keep them on. They tried to mulch leaves today for about an hour before the rain, and they decided that it wasn't worth it. So, but we're very thankful for all the work that those guys do.
Yeah.
So some parks improvements that we had, projects during 2024. Tulip bulbs were planted. Windmill Park, the volunteers planted those, like John Bunsma and Nora Mulder. That group took care of Windmill Park along with many other volunteers, and we're thankful for them. MOC Floyd Valley Middle School informed me that they were not interested in helping plant. So we got First Christian Reformed Church's youth group to help us with the planting. So we did that on a Saturday, and we got it all the other beds knocked out and all planted. So with this rain, it's great for all the bulbs. So hopefully those, we should have a great lot of tulips this year. So we're excited about that. Dugouts. So Brian was unable to complete those before he retired. So that's at the pool park, the dugouts and shelter houses down there. We have the concrete pads poured. Now we'll finish that in spring of 2025, and Brandon DeCook from 3-4 Construction is going to finish that project for us. Parks improvements continued. We put in a water line to the baseball fields. This is so that we can spray down the fields when they're really, really dry. All the city departments helped with that. The water department ordered the line for us. The street department helped us put in the line. The gas guys located their lines. The electric guys located their lines. So we were really thankful for that. Brent Albers volunteered his time to run Alton's trencher, and we got it put in. So it was really, we're happy to have that, and it adds to the playing fields. So we also lost quite a few trees in our parks and city properties. So we had 23 trees planted between the pool ball fields, the cemetery, and Vets Park as well. So looking forward to those growing and maturing. The pool shelter house about a year ago was deemed unsafe for use. So we had Brandon Mars come in, and this spring he repaired it all and made it safe for use. So we were happy to get that done. Brian also fixed another windmill this past winter before he retired, and he is planning on coming back and working on a windmill a couple days a week throughout the winter, so he can continue to make those and have those look nice. So Dunlop Pond, as many of you know, Dunlop Pond, we experienced historic flooding there, which caused the recreation area to kind of be deemed not it kind of ruined the recreation area, to be honest. So this is some pictures, as you can see. This is after we got the water pumped out, and all of that grass was killed with sediment and mud. You can also see that one of the docks was floated on top of the shelter house. Here's an aerial view of that Monday after the flooding. This was before we got it pumped out, so you can see that it was, over its banks quite a bit. So we are continuing to work with Earl, Kent, and myself are working with FEMA to continue our process of getting that up to standard out there. We did have the berm did break on that north side. We do have Claringa Excavating, and they're coming to work on that hopefully this winter. That'll be a winter project for them, so we can get that trail looking nice. They're doing the trail, the berm, parking lot resurfacing, all of that stuff. So Puddle Jumper Park, we had the addition of a disc golf course this year. So in March, I met with the task force. That was Jaron Paw, myself, John Rayhill, Tyrone Feud, and Ian Wiersma. And we met multiple times throughout the spring months as well as into the summer. And these are individuals within the community that have a passion for disc golf. And we designed a disc golf course. So it's a 9-hole course. It has it's an 18-hole course, and it has 9 tee pads. So you play the whites first, and then you go and you finish, and then you play the oranges. So it gives that space. We were able to utilize the space and use it as best as we could to create this disc golf course. And so just some upcoming for the disc golf course. We are getting the back area. We're looking at having that reseeded because right now it's alfalfa. That's the Vogel property, so we'll have that reseeded, and then we're working on sponsorships for holes so that we can have signage out there for each hole. So a business could sponsor a hole and have their business up there along with the hole number and the par. So I've seen a lot of people out there using it, and we've gotten a lot of compliments about it, so that's been a really nice addition. Earl and myself and Jaron met with Mark Nyhoff about possible shelter house and pickleball courts out there, so trying to get that moving and see what that would look like for pricing and everything like that. So we're continuing to look at that space and want to utilize that as best as we can. So recreation. Soccer, we were helped by the Northwestern soccer team, men's and women's. We had 565 kids participate in soccer, and there were 6 different communities, kids from 6 different communities. We pulled from 6 different communities of kids that participated in it. Winter basketball, we had 148 kids that participated. That's our next recreation program, and that registration begins December 8. Summer recreation, we had 550 kids participate in our summer rec programs. We participated with other communities for games, for our travel games for the 3rd and 4th graders. And we also added 2 new events this year. So here's just some pictures of some of the different things that we did. As you can see, we were able to utilize the MOC Floyd Valley fields when our fields were too wet to play on. So that's been a really, really nice asset to be able to go out there and play on those fields. So we're thankful to have those as well. Our 3rd and 4th grade and 5th and 6th grade girls softball team raised $2,700 this summer for Rock Valley and Haywarden's rec programs. They did a bake sale. So that was really fun to see those girls come together and bake. And they were, I think they were pretty pesky because they positioned themselves right at the stop sign. So people had to see their sign right as they drove by. So that was a fun thing that we did. Don Stagerda and Leanne Bonacroy contacted me this past winter and said, hey, you got a lot of sports rec programs. We'd like to do something with crafts. So they hosted a Crafting Connections program, which was located in the library basement. And it was a way they met once a week and they had different crafts for kids to do. So that was a fun new program that we hosted this year. We also brought back the movie in the park. We had 88 people attend that. And we partnered with the library. The library provided the drink and the popcorn and the movie, and then we provided the big screen. We borrowed that from Sheldon's rec department. Thankfully, it was not too windy, so it wasn't flying all over the place, but that was a fun event to kind of end summer recreation along with the summer reading program. We just got done with flag football. We had 210 kids participate in that. We had kids from 7 different communities, and then 70 Northwestern College football players helped run that program. Without the college, we really couldn't run a lot of our programs. The sports teams there do a phenomenal job of helping us, and the coaches are always willing to let their athletes participate in it, so we're really thankful for them in that capacity. Swimming pool. So swimming pool, we had 34 lifeguards. Total summer attendance was 12,212. July was our busiest month with 5,250. Last year, it was actually June was our busiest month, but then I kind of put 2 and 2 together and remembered that June was kind of a nasty month. We had a lot of rain and a lot of, it was kind of colder, so that makes sense why July was then the busiest month. Our busiest day saw 400 plus people. Dog swim, we had 75 plus dogs, which is always a riot to see. Public lessons, there are 262 kids that took public lessons, and then we had quite a large influx of private lessons as well, and quite a few lifeguards teach private lessons, so those were very popular as well. Just something to be thinking about for you guys. Pool maintenance. So I'm not going to lie, this was probably one of the tougher years to start the pool that I've been around. Things are just getting worn out and old. So like this year in the basement, sometime in the spring, our sump pump died, and Jared and I went down to the basement, and there was 2 feet of water down there, and the pump to the slide and chlorine feeder were non-operational. So we had to quick hurry, get one ordered, get it installed, and the water department really helped us with that. They helped us a lot with all of our projects down there, so we're really thankful for their help. We are going to need, this year, we are going to need 2 new pumps for our main pool. And we have those ordered. They're coming out at $28,000, but we need them because if we don't have those pumps, we can't have the pool. And those are, the bearings are going out on those. And we're thankful to make it through the summer with the ones we had, but we're looking at Goodland Pump ordering some of those. 2 of those new ones for us. The next big project that we need to start thinking about as a city is filter renovations. So we have 2 of those filters right there. This past year we were able to get the laterals fixed within those filters. So we had all the sand sucked out. Carico Aquatics, who does all our aquatic stuff, was able to put the laterals back on, and then we had the Northwestern wrestling team helped us pour, I think it was like 10,000 pounds of sand into the filters. So we had that fixed, and that fixed our issue of sand leaking into the pool. But the actual filters are really showing their age, just with the erosion and the climate down in the basement. So that's something that Earl and I will talk about at strategic planning about where we need to go next with this. But it'll be probably $200,000 to $250,000 project. So that's something that, and this probably needs to be done in the near future, within the next couple of years. So something to keep in mind. So with that being said, I want to thank you guys for your support of the Parks and Recreation Department. If we have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Your pool with the
Yep.
filter systems. Didn't we talk about getting it out of the basement long term? That would be part of this.
That's what would be part of the project. So the project would entail taking those filters out of the basement and putting them outside. The original idea when the pool was made was that we put those downstairs. You don't have to winterize them. You don't have to worry about that. But with the how damp it is and the chemicals that are in there, it just eats away at the actual bins. I kind of talked with our pool rep about what that would look like, and he said that we would probably keep all the pumps downstairs, but the actual filters would need to be brought upstairs and placed outside on the north end of the building, kind of by where the boiler is, because that's just where the way the plumbing works there. So but that's where they would end up, and then that way they're easier to access. And just we'd have to winterize them, but ease of access, and then they're out of that element. So,
For perspective, this pool is 30 years old. the pool that some of us remember from Vets Park, we used for 30 years and then abandoned it and went on to the new pool. So pools have a lifespan. Thankfully, our basin and the concrete and so everything around the pool itself is in pretty good shape. But it's the filter system that, you could see in the pictures.
If you built a new pool today, would you take everything out of the basement, even the pumps?
Yeah, so that's how, so like George, I'm pretty sure it was the community of George, had theirs placed outside under a like tarp canopy system. And that way it's if you do need to replace them in the future, they're outside.
It's not actually in a structure?
It would be like almost like a cold storage or something that you can, it's basically for access, ease of access.
It's actually less wear on them than being in a damp, wet place that doesn't have the ventilation.
Well, for all of our kids and everybody else, we sure appreciate all the effort and hours. We know you put in the hours like crazy during the summer, and also to the college and high school kids that help you out. But you do a great job.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
So.
heard many good comments.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Then Kirk Maasdam for water and wastewater. Thanks, Kirk, for coming.
Yep, no problem. I didn't bring a visual aid. this
Okay,
year.
then I'll-
Last year, I know you got nervous that I was gonna bring something from the wastewater.
Yeah, from the
plant,
wastewater.
so We don't have anything
Okay.
this year, because
Bless you.
you don't want to see any of that. So this year, we started off, after being in a drought for 3 to 4 years, we started off with the flood. So, that put quite a bit of stress on the wastewater system. So, because there was a 3-4 week stretch there where we got 30 plus inches of rain. So, we've been through similar situations. So in the past, we've budgeted and we have 8 big pumps that we can throw in manholes to try and keep the wastewater out of people's basements or whatever. So this year we used all 8, and then we ended up having to rent a tractor and a bigger pump to set by the east lift to help ease the strain on it because it wouldn't keep up. This was the first year we have used the tractor and the pump at the east lift. In the past, we've never needed that much pumping capacity. And we also did that to help ease the strain on the guys, because with our other 8 pumps, running them wide open, they'll only go 2 hours before they're out of gas, and then you have to refill them. So there was quite a few days where we had guys working around the clock, making sure the pumps were all gassed up so we could keep the wastewater out of everybody's basement. So, along those lines, the volume of water we handled, so like right now, our flows daily at the wastewater plant are in the 500,000 to 600,000 gallons a day range. During that stretch, we were 2.5 million gallons a day or more. The plant is built to handle 2.4. So we used our extra lagoons up there as overflow, and that still was barely enough. So like right now, all the lift stations, when they cycle, it basically takes 20 minutes for the wet well to fill up, 20 minutes to pump it down to the set point, and it does that all day long. So during that stretch this spring, the lift stations, for a month and a half, they never shut off. So they ran constantly instead of what they're cycling right now. So, and considering the volume of water we had, I mean, we had a few little issues in town, but for the most part, we handled it probably better than we have at any other time when we've had significant flooding like this. And I mean, compared to the other communities around here, we came out pretty good. So, like,
Cherokee's wastewater plant got completely destroyed, basically. So up to this point, they've just been storing it. Well, right now their lagoons are full, so they're having to figure out what to do. So all in all, we came away incredibly well. And then, of course, during the middle of it, one of the pumps burned up at the east lift, so we had to pull that out, get the motor redone because we needed such a quick turnaround. We couldn't wait to get parts to fix the rest of the pump, so we had to put some old parts back in, but we got it running. So we've now had time to budget and purchase parts so we can completely rebuild it, and then we'll pull one out, fix it, and pull the other one out, and then we should be good. So and I know a lot of people have asked about that, if because our volume of water goes up drastically in a situation like that, it's like there's a point where the ground gets so saturated you can't fight it. Like a couple of weeks ago, we brought a group in, they smoke tested majority of our sewer in town, basically everything that goes to the east lift, to see if we could identify if we had some area that water was just getting in that we didn't want. They were here all day and they didn't find anything. The biggest thing they found was behind Darren's house. There's a manhole back there that's really close to the waterway. So I'm assuming when the water gets high, that manhole probably goes underwater and we get a lot of extra water that we don't necessarily want or need. So I've talked to Matt. We're going to order some parts that you can put in a manhole to try and stop the infiltration. We'll probably raise it to get it up above, hopefully, the high water. So that's our plan with that. So, because actually the group that came in was disappointed when they smoke tested, because they're like, usually when we go to a town, we have smoke coming out of the ground all over. He's like, we really didn't find anything. So for the most part, our system is very secure. So the other thing we'll probably need to do in the future is, we went 3-4 years in the drought. You know, our sump pump rule is you can have them in during the winter. Well, during the drought, I think a lot of people probably just never switched it back. And then we hit the wet spring and it was like, oh, here we go. Because I know the longer we went, it seemed like the more houses we saw start discharging their water to the outside. So, and then once we got done with the wet season, we went about a month and then we went right back into the drought during September and October, because then DNR issued the thing that our part of the state was back in the drought, because then it didn't rain at all. So we went from one extreme to the other. Finally, in October, we did get our new well up and running, which is nice. It would have been nice to have it earlier, because earlier in the summer, one of the wells did fail, and we had to get it pulled and get it replaced. So Sergeant came in, dropped it in. So then we were back, and now we have the extra one. So now in the spring, we have a couple of the ones we've been using. We'll have to pull, get them redone and put back in, and then we'll be back to full strength as far as the well situation. They're still not quite done with the new well. The engineers have set it up a little bit different than the other wells, so we have to have the control people come to the plant, water plant, to change some of the operation of some of the pumps. Just the way the new well operates, it takes longer to start and longer to stop. So then we have to change the way the pumps inside the plant run. They can do that. They had to write a new program so the pumps will run so we don't overflow the plant and it kicks it out the side of the building. So in a week or so, they'll be here to change that, and then hopefully that project will be completely done. Other than that, guys spent a lot of time locating, as always, with H&D in town this past year for Premier. This was actually fairly painless year. They really didn't hit anything major, which was good. So that's good credit to the guys on the crew that marked everything, because I know the previous summer, they had hit the line right down the road from the water tower, and we tried to empty the water tower in about 10 minutes, so this was a good summer for that. So that's hats off to those guys who did all the marking. They spent a lot of time with those guys, making sure they stayed away, or if they were going to be close, helping them find our stuff so it wouldn't get hit. So, other than that, those are the highlights for the year. Has anybody got any questions?
Long-term, the east lift station is one of the bottlenecks, the amount of water that you can pump.
So there's a few factors there. So the east lift station basically takes everything from Delaware east. So that is almost 3/4 of the town. So part of the problem is it has to go like Delaware south, like all the way down to like 5th Street south. So all that water has to go all the way north to 6th Street down Delaware, all the way east over to Frankfort, all the way back down south to like the golf course, and then go across the golf course, go behind Darren's house, and then get to the east lift. So part of it is that volume of water has to go so far, and then when it gets to the lift, you have to pump it all the way back to the tree pile, basically, where the plant is. So that water travels over a couple miles. So we run into bottlenecks in town because it can only go so fast through town, and then we still have a huge volume at the lift that is limited by the size of the pipe leaving the lift. You can only push so much water through a pipe. I mean, you can ramp up your motors, but then you build pressure. That force main's been in there a while. I think we don't want to put any more pressure on it than what we're doing, because then you can start breaking the pipe. So
do you need a second force line?
That would help. So we talked to the engineer and asked them to come up with a long-range plan of whether that means we need another lift station farther upstream to catch a lot of that water before it gets to the east lift, and then we could pump it a different route out there. That way would alleviate a lot of pressure on the east lift. That's kind of what we're leaning to, but the engineer's going to do engineering things and figure out what they think is the best plan.
There are some improvements that we probably should be making long-term as we continue to grow.
We've done quite a bit. Like all of Delaware has been relined. The stretch that goes from Delaware to Frankfort is already basically all plastic pipe. So it's about as good and as slick as it can be. It just makes a lot of turns. And anytime you take wastewater and make a turn, it doesn't go around the corner nice and smooth. It gets in the manhole, it swirls around, builds up, and then it goes down. So every time it makes a turn, you lose velocity and capacity. So, and some of that I don't know that we can fix. I mean, we can try and divert some of it, like we've talked about. Instead of when you get to go down Delaware, instead of getting and taking the right to head east across town, if we can take a left and somehow get it out to the sewer plant to take some of that load that way. So, but engineers looking into that. So
as we continue to grow the volume out that side of town anyway, it's not going to get any less.
No, it's maxed out. And like now, you're fine, but it's when you have water events, it's going to struggle. And we weren't the only ones. I mean, this spring, everybody struggled. So normally, if a town discharges, I get an email from the DNR, a little news break that says, so-and-so is discharging, blah, blah, blah. It got to the point this spring, they wouldn't even name the town. They would just say, we had 25 communities all discharging, blah, blah, blah. So this was an exceptional year for that kind of stuff. So we have the same problem as every other community. So.
Well, I don't even have the words to thank you for all you do, because how often I just go and turn my handle and it's there. It's a wonderful thing. So the infrastructure and all that goes into it is just very thankful for all of you and your knowledge and how well you take care of it in our city.
Got some good guys on the crew.
Yes, we do. Yeah,
They do a really good job.
we appreciate you all. That's for sure. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Brett, got a question. You gotta have one. You didn't have one last year.
I got nothing.
Nothing?
I'm sitting back there.
Okay. Just checking. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Mozzie. Okay, agenda item 8 is exhibit 2 in your packet, and that is our financial report for this year, or for this month, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Yep, Exhibit 2, just a couple of comments. Obviously, October is when the cities receive monies from the county treasurer for the property taxes that were collected. So you can see that we obviously received quite a bit more money than dispersed throughout our funds there. So in regards to property tax collection, we collected just $2.1 million. And the general fund there, the first line item, was about 1.2 million. The debt service fund received about just shy of 730. And then our TIF, tax increment financing areas, that was about 232 that we collected. So this is about 6 months worth of property taxes. And the only other comment that I have is under hotel motel tax. Again, monthly collection there under the received of 21 and the dispersed is 29 and change, and that is those two projects, American Legion landscaping project we paid out, as well as the Heritage Cemetery Committee. We paid that out too, so that was roughly 20 and 10. So other than that, I don't have any other comments on the treasurer's report unless somebody else has got a comment to make.
Questions for Ken? Otherwise, is there a motion to approve the monthly financial report?
Support.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 9 is the monthly bills from October 22nd of 2024 through November 18, 2024, and that's exhibit 3 in your packet.
Yeah. If you have any specifics, otherwise I'm just going to hit one or two of these. I know you've had over the weekend to look, but page 4, it was budgeted last fiscal year. It took them a little while to get it done, but we did get a new roof put on this building. 4-way roofing did that, so that's on page 4 towards the bottom. It was a budgeted item that we did last fiscal year, and so we'll it'll come out of this year's funds. Page 5, we did some, page 5 at the top, Goodland Pump. One of the things that Mozzie was just talking about is redoing that pump at the east lift. That's the 46,000 and change there. And then we also had some repairs to the Landsmere well. As we had to pull that and clean that out. That was the one right underneath it for 11. And then I think the only thing I hit, unless somebody else, is at the very last page, on page 13. I accidentally had some fat fingers, and underneath Vanderpool Excavating, there's one there under Vanderpool with Harry's name on it, and that needs to be voided because it was meant to be Vanderpool Excavating again. So we're going to void the Harry Vanderpool one, and then so then what I want to add is obviously to redo that one to the Vanderpool Excavating for 54. And then the other one that Matt handed me that wasn't on here at all that I want to add is the 2nd Street Delaware project. The pay estimate in that dollar amount is $532,613.93. So that is all I have on the bills, unless somebody's got a specific.
Who's that paid out to then?
Vanderpool Excavating.
Questions for Ken? A motion to approve the bills for the month?
Support.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 10 is annual urban renewal report for the fiscal year 2023-2024.
Yep, for what, hopefully most of you know this is an annual report that's due to the state every year by December 1, and it's basically all the TIF dollars that we collect and that we spend. So I gave you a summary sheet here in the packet, and then I've emailed you the report to your email addresses because it's about a 60-page report. So just hitting the highlights here, but if you have other questions, feel free to ask or give me a call. But at the top there you can see the urban renewal areas, and so the first one there is basically our puddle jumpers for our housing. That's the urban renewal area number 1. The second one there is where Punt Camp Beer. It's a building downtown where it's being renovated right now for a future restaurant on the corner. Downtown urban renewal is basically where Brad's Breads restaurant, the old Hawkeye building, and it runs the length of that block to the north to where Corner Kitchen used to be, and then it's as wide as to the alley, if that makes sense. So that's TIF dollars that so we have some debt that we're paying when we renovated that building where Brad's is, so we're paying some debt on that, but that's basically the downtown renewal area. And then obviously the other 3, Highway 10 is really what it says. It's projects that we've done along Highway 10 corridor. The industrial park is our industrial park more on the south end. And when you look to the right there, it says number of taxing districts. So those are basically the projects. So we've got 10 different projects along Highway 10, like Hampton, those kind of projects, Hampton Inn, and then like industrial park, those might be like Pizza Ranch Support, REC, those kinds in the past. 8th Street corridor is where Casey's General Store is located, Strip Mall, Ambank Insurance. That is what we're calling. That's what we ended up calling that urban renewal area. So it's a combination of all these is what we're talking about for revenue expenditures. So in the middle there, you can see the total revenue that we took in, 1.6, and then we had rebate expenditures of $115,000 and change, and those were basically the ones along, Hampton Inn, the dentist, Joiner Dentistry, Roadhouse, and Corver ENT. Those would make up those rebate expenditures. And then the non-rebate are projects that we're doing within those areas. So, for example, the extension of 14th Street, by the canals and stuff through there, 14th Street that we connected to J Avenue, that was part of the TIF area. So that's the largest share of that, $2.3 million. So at the end of June, the cash there it's in shaded in red, just a little over $1 million. And this ties to our treasurer's report. So when you look at the treasurer's report that we just approved, if you look at the Hawkeye Downtown, the Event Center TIF, Housing TIF, and Industrial Park, those are the core funds that make up that $1 million. So hopefully I didn't go through that too fast. It's a lot of numbers, a lot of detail, but yeah, it's a big report, but it's important too. So I don't mean to. But if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you very much.
Is there a motion to approve the annual urban renewal report?
So moved.
Any questions from anybody? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 11 is we have to pass a resolution accepting the City Hall parking lot project, and Matt's going to fill us in on that.
Yeah, as you know, the parking lot's been pretty usable basically for the last several months, and finished up the final punch list on that, and it's a good addition. We all like it, and I think it's getting a lot of use from the neighborhood as more efficient as far as parking. So good project. recommend accepting that and awarding, closing out the project. Vanderwent was the contractor on that project, so we recommend passing a resolution to accept it and make final payment.
Questions from anybody?
Can I make that motion?
Okay, and it is a resolution, so we will do a roll call, and I'll start with Brett.
Yes.
Daryl?
Yes.
Olivia? Yes. Darren?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
5-0. Thank you. Thanks, Matt. Agenda item number 12 is at Exhibit 5 in your packet, and that's Pizza Ranch Dutch Front proposal.
You should have
Thanks,
received two exhibits, one showing the existing picture, and then one showing the new proposed window. The main difference in it, as you can see, has the white round arch top is white, and the new one will be all glass with grid work. The Dutch Front Committee has reviewed it and approved it, says it's a nice addition to the building. The proposed cost is $7,858.42. With the city, if we approve it, the funding would be $3,929.21. This does fall under the ordinance of the maintenance fund, receiving up to $5,000 in a 5-year period, so they'll pay 50% of the project cost for the front. So.
Was the existing one damaged, or?
The problem was it was leaking, so they were getting water in the bottom of it. It was leaking inside the lower portion, so that was the reason for replacing it. And I know they tried to talk to cappers and see if they'd want to do something at the same time, so it looked the same. But obviously, I think with the cost of the project, that I think that would probably get a hold of it. I know they contacted them to try to do both, so it looked the same, but. Yeah.
The questions or motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
you, Kurt. Agenda item 13. This is time the council will hear and consider a livestock exemption request from Taylor Drice at 1501 Canal Drive Southeast for chickens in R1 low density residential. Thanks, Taylor, for coming.
Thanks, Deb.
Yeah.
Okay, so my name's Taylor Drice. I live at 1501 Canal Drive Southeast. Brand new house. We've been in there for about 6 months. To preface this, I want to state I've been asked before to run for city council in our town, which I declined at the time because I have small children and a host of other responsibilities. But I love Orange City and the faith and the values that it exudes and how it can inform all situations. I live and work, go to church, raise my family here. We support local schools which my kids attend and local businesses that we frequent. We have friends both in town and out of town. I'm just going to summarize kind of what's happened in our particular case to date and then kind of talk about what the future might hold. A number of weeks ago, I had the opportunity to participate in local government hearing requests for rezoning of private properties to more properly align with the owner's apparent desires. This takes place via the Planning and Zoning Commission, which is made up of appointed members hearing requests, supporting or negative feedback regarding them, and then making a case-by-case judgment via majority vote. Multiple of these requests were heard the morning that I was there, and all of them had to do with the ability or the legality of raising livestock on your personal property. There was a request for a change to an entire neighborhood, as well as a couple of requests to rezone specific residences or smaller parts of the neighborhood. Our property was one of those requests, and in full transparency, this is due to the fact that we have chickens on our property that we use for food production. But more than that, we use them to reduce the amount of waste that we send to the landfill, to teach our children responsibilities of caring for animals and where their food comes from, and to provide inexpensive and often free food for others where we may have a surplus via gifts, donations, or food pantries. In hearing the initial request for a neighborhood to be rezoned in its entirety, the commission unanimously voted in favor of this, with most of the discussion on the matter centered around what the worst case scenario would be if the rezoning went through, which would include the ability of landowners to max out their potential for livestock, meaning as many as 5 cows and 5 pigs and 5 horses and 15 goats or other small animals just because they can. This particular neighborhood has covenants that would allow them to amend this number based on the majority decision if they see fit, so that they can personally manage ongoing nuisance issues with their neighbors. This passed unanimously with no issues. Our request was next which at the time was for our lot to be rezoned from R1, which is residential, to RS1, which is suburban residential, which, given the way the ordinance has gone through, would allow us to keep the chickens. It is already zoned adjacent to us directly east of our property as RS1, and we have no current neighbors other than those who already live in an RS1 designation. In hearing my supporting documentation and discussion, there were at least 2 members in favor of this change, so with their support, it went to a vote, with 2 members of the 7-member commission not present. This was overturned 3-2 vote in the negative for the following reasons: concern about spot zoning certain properties in town who desire to use their property to raise livestock or adhere to ordinances that differ based on their zoning designation. Again, they talked about the worst case scenario, which is to say what would stop someone, meaning us, from having a fully functioning farm on their property with numerous livestock just because they can. Several members of the commission, or those who voted negatively, were pretty visibly frustrated with the apparent lack of a means of change for this landowner capability without completely rezoning their property. And at least once I heard one of them say, "I don't want to meet every 2 weeks to continue to discuss these requests for spot zoning." The deciding vote came from the chair of the commission, whose ultimate recommendation was to overturn the request with the intention of giving a recommendation back to you guys to consider or reconsider the recent ordinance, or at least develop a means to designate properties for livestock owners that live in city limits but might not meet the zoning requirement. At the time, I actually wholeheartedly supported P&Z's recommendation for it to come back to you guys, even if it meant that it didn't come in my favor, and even support penalties for those that can't adhere to reasonable guidelines as they would have been set forth. That said, our case made it to you all a few weeks ago after being run up the chain by P&Z, and the request to rezone was also here denied 5-0. I was on call and unfortunately not able to make it to that, but thank you for considering. And I understand again that most of the discussion was around not wanting an in-town zone to allow for larger livestock, given the ability you would have in the RS1 designation. I understand this, even agree with it, because we have no intention of having large livestock on our property. But I would also note there are multiple properties that are zoned to be able to have large livestock well further west into the city limits than ours, that have large animals on them and whose animals are closer to their surrounding neighbors than our house and our chickens are. Today I'm here to request an exemption to the ordinance banning livestock within city limits on residential property. It's my understanding that none of these requests have been granted with prior attempts, but we do have a significantly unique situation I feel should allow for us to continue doing what we're doing. In particular, I'm asking for this request to be considered despite the outcome of any prior requests. Our case is an exception for the following reasons. Number one, we have a manageable number of chickens that are cared for multiple times daily with enough space to properly maintain their enclosure, take steps to avoid concerns like odor and their enclosure becoming unsightly, such as manure clean out. We apply calcium lime for the odor, we bed down their enclosure, and we wrap and weatherproof it for the cold months. The animals are enclosed at all times, and we don't have any roosters. Number two, and I think this is the big one, our property is nearly 2 acres in total land, and it has firm borders on every side. Commercial property to the north, J Avenue to the east, Canal Drive to the south, and a new city bike path to the west. What this means is that the chickens' enclosure on our property is more than 100 yards in every direction from the next nearest inhabited building other than my house. You could pick up Corver Field and set it between our chickens and our closest neighbor, and it would not touch their house. Even with this distance buffer, we also have the support of each of our individual neighbors with a signed letter from each of them individually, attesting to them being both okay with our current setup and promising to report any nuisance should it occur. That's with the exception of one who preferred to remain anonymous, even though they pledged their support. Additionally, what I think is the backwards part of this is that our neighbors to the direct east are already in the RS1 designation and have the same distance to my house that mine is from theirs, where they're allowed to be raising livestock, where I might not be. I have discussed with my closest neighbor who zoned RS1, who told me that should it not go through, he would allow us to move our chickens on his property if necessary. But to clarify, this would bring the chickens closer to all 3 of my current neighbors and further just from me. The third reason is we utilize our chickens to eliminate hundreds of pounds of food waste annually, and in turn they generate food, eggs, for multiple families other than my own, as well as to be donated if we have excess. This not only limits landfill waste, but supports those locally who may have varying degrees of food insecurity. We utilize these responsibilities as well to teach our children about agriculture, maintaining a property, farm production, money management, and the care of God's creatures. In closing, we own chickens. We've had them for nearly 2 years. Others in the community have had them for more than 20. All of those within city limits have been affected by this. I don't keep them to annoy you all or my neighbors. And absolutely, I would have revisited how I was doing things if we haven't ever had a single nuisance complaint, but we have not. The reasons I do keep them: I keep them to watch my kids' faces light up when they set a new record for the number of eggs they collect in a day, or the biggest or smallest egg that they have ever found. I keep them to paint Easter eggs while we remember our Savior's resurrection. I keep them to watch my youngest grin from ear to ear after he taste tests the cookie dough that his mom made with her own eggs. I keep them so my wife can reminisce about her grandpa in heaven while she looks at our chicken coop that's made from 100-year-old Sioux County barnwood. And I keep them to support our friends and our families in a tangible, simple, and stress-free way. And until a few months ago, I kept them because I was unaware that I was not able to do so. But with your help today, I'm requesting an exemption to allow that to continue.
Thank you very, very well. Questions? Comments?
I think there was some thought with rezoning your property that it's not, just your family, it's the historical, what this is going to look like as Orange City grows and grows. So I hope that it sounds like you're very understanding of that too.
And I understand. I spoke kind of with Darren a little bit about that, about how it was mainly related to larger animals. I have no desire to have large animals in my neighborhood anyways, but certainly not on my property. So thank you though.
Other comments?
This is somewhat unique to being a larger property, almost 2 acres, as we had talked about, and being on the edge of another property zoned very similarly to what he desired.
Yeah, like across the street, yeah.
I think the topic of spot zoning has come up since I've been on council. And we've always been advised by P&Z to not get into spot zoning. At least that's my recollection. I don't know about you, Daryl. So that's a hard part of it. I can tell you I've had an experience walking the puddle jumper and heard a commotion and didn't know what was going on until I realized you had chickens there. So I don't think it's free of nuisance for all neighbors. I think for people walking the trails, there's times where it is a nuisance. Again, unintended and, but it's there.
Yeah, I would argue that that's a temporary, you're walking past temporarily. I spoke with Steve, who lives directly east of me, and he said he has never heard my chickens. Never. In 6 months. And I think if you look hard enough for a nuisance, you could probably find one anywhere. Like the MOC band waking up everybody on that side of town in the morning when they're out there practicing at 7 o'clock in the morning. I think it's there for a reason.
I do think that this is definitely a different request than what we've seen in the way your land is set up and the way that your chickens are positioned on your land with so much space. And I would make a motion to move forward to allow this exemption.
Is there support for Olivia's motion?
Support.
Questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Sorry, it's 2-3.
Can I ask specifically for the nay votes, why?
I think this is the 4th or 5th exception request we heard. We denied all of them. I think R1 is not allowed. And I think starting to give exceptions is problematic. So we're going to get lots of requests for that. So.
Yeah, I would say my comment about spot zoning.
I like all the reasons you have chickens for your kids.
Yeah.
It's just not the place to have them.
Yeah.
So I think respectfully, you're both mistaken on what I'm requesting because the zone doesn't matter. Like That's the point of the exemption to the ordinance. It doesn't matter if it's R1 or RS1. So just because the request from an exemption comes from an R1 property, that shouldn't matter. And again, if you're telling me any of the other exemptions in this town have been able to have chickens 100 yards from an inhabited building, then I'll be all ears.
It is a unique situation. Yeah. Any other comments? Okay, administrative reports. Earl?
Yeah, a few things. First of all, I had mentioned at the last meeting that there was a rentals that are coming due on the farm rentals. So those advertisements are going out. Sealed bids will be received on December 9 at 1 o'clock. So we're using the newspaper, social media, and our website to promote that those properties are available for rent. Attended the Sioux County Regional Airport meeting today. We accepted the audit that was through the end of June of 24. Just FYI, I think most of you are aware, Dwayne continues to serve on that board with me and serves as the treasurer. So receiving a positive audit was credit to Dwayne's work there as well. Just for your information, the net assets of the airport are set at $27.8 million. They have an annual operating expense that's averaged about $650,000 a year. So that's being met primarily by those contributions that are made from the supporting agencies. So it's a three-way partnership between City of Orange City, City of Sioux Center, and Sioux County. They currently have about $785,000 in cash or money market or CDs, available cash at about $785,000. Currently, they're in the process of applying for a grant from the state for $266,000, which would help pay about half of the apron project that they're working on for some new hangars that would be commercial hangars. And the balance of that 526 would be split between the airport authority and the property owners. The property owners would have an assessment for that as well. So as we've talked about before, they have exceeded all expectations for what the airport would do as far as the amount of traffic and work being done there. Yeah, Darren serves on Lionsburg Golf Board, closed for the season. Yesterday was the last day that the course was open. Mallory and Chad will be making their report. I don't remember if it's the next meeting or the first one in December. Or, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the first one in December would be our next meeting. And then just an FYI that the Iowa Supreme Court heard oral arguments on our rental ordinance on November 13. It'll probably be several weeks or maybe even months before we hear any kind of decision back from the Iowa Supreme Court. That's what I have.
Janet, do you have anything? Jim? Yeah. Mike? Yeah. Do you have anything, Mike? Kurt?
No.
Matt? No. Ryan? I'm missing anybody back there? Bradley?
Nothing here.
Council, Brett?
Nope. Saw something on Facebook about the tulip court, so.
Monday?
Go
Yep.
out and
Yep.
enjoy that. Was that next week?
Next week, Monday.
Next Monday.
Daryl?
No.
Olivia? Darren?
Nope.
Rod?
No.
Don't have anything else either, so, look at your upcoming council meetings and,
I would make a comment. Kent reminded me after the agenda was put out, We often save an extra council meeting at the end of January for budget, so maybe it's not a bad thing for you to put on your calendar that we may need. We have used it, sometimes we haven't used it, but we've tried to save that because we do have a budget. That's the last one. Yeah, so there'd actually be 3 meetings in January, 1st, 3rd, and 4th.
And it's also a reminder that our live stream
Yep,
is working
tonight, so
tonight. So
if
that's
you're looking for it on the website, you go to city and then you go to where the public information is, the board's report, and then there's a place to link on to the website. So again, thanks to Janet and working with folks from Northwestern to help us get that hooked up, along with our fireworks contract with Michael.
Yeah, thank you, Jenny.
Younger people that are a lot smarter than some of us when it comes to technology.
Yeah, it's a good request, and I'm glad it's up and working well. So is there a motion to adjourn? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Church meeting.
Oh, yeah, at 6?
How are you?
Yeah. We got all kinds of
I said
time.
tomorrow, the meeting will be done in 45 minutes.
Get this turned off.
Guys,